Tanny had been raised alongside several gorillas, and her connection with one of them was truly extraordinary. But when she left, she assumed he would forget her entirely. Years later, against warnings, she returned to see him. But just wait until you see how he reacted when he saw her. Tanny Aspinall and her father, Damien Aspinall, couldn't wait to reunite with the animals they had once loved so much. They sailed on a boat until they caught sight of the gorillas, a short distance away from the shore. They were excited to get close and greet the gorillas, but they had been cautioned not to approach them too closely. The gorillas had been living in the wild for years and might not appreciate their presence. But Tanny didn't see it that way. She hoped deep down that the gorillas still remembered her the way she remembered them. To her, they were family, or at least they used to be. These gorillas had built their own lives in the wild, far from captivity. Everyone warned her it was too risky to get too close, but Tanny didn't listen. As they drifted down the river, Tanny noticed heads peeking out from the bushes. The gorillas were watching them, their dark eyes fixed on the boat. Tanny knew the gorilla she raised, even if he had changed a lot. She recognized him immediately among the group. The boat stopped, and she jumped out, despite the warnings from her father and their guides. The gorilla came closer. Yalta, the one who had been like a guardian during her childhood, was now fully grown and towering. Rising onto his back legs, he moved directly toward Tanny. If something went wrong, there would be no stopping him. No way to step in. Tanny was completely on her own. Yalta got closer, then suddenly he grabbed Tanny by the arm. Her father wanted to rush forward, but he knew he could make matters much worse if he startled the gorilla. Everyone watched anxiously, unsure of what the gorilla would do next. Had Tanny's childhood friend forgotten her? Or was he about to hurt her? But how did this extraordinary bond between Tanny and Yalta begin? It all started with Tanny's father, Damien, a renowned conservationist. He founded the Aspinall Foundation as a way to channel his deep passion for protecting animals. They worked hard to rescue animals, gorillas especially, and return them to the wild. They also owned the Howlett Zoo in Canterbury. When animals couldn't be rehabilitated and returned to the wild, they were cared for in the zoo. It's fair to say that Tanny and her siblings experienced a truly magical childhood. They all spent their childhood in the zoo, forming close bonds with the animals. Tanny was just over a year old when Bims, the gorilla, arrived at the zoo for the first time. He was injured and his family had been killed by poachers. He needed to be cared for. Damien and his team took on this responsibility. Tanny and her siblings were always around the zoo, and soon they were around Bims too. It was like he was one of their playmates. As Tanny grew up, she often played inside the gorilla enclosure, making sure that Bims never felt alone. It was loads of fun having a gorilla as a playmate, but they didn't know it was going to get even better. One day when Damien picked Tanny up from school, he told her there was a big surprise waiting at home. And he wasn't kidding. The surprise was a baby gorilla. Yalta, an orphan, had lost his mother and couldn't survive in the wild on his own. Still so small, he needed someone to care for him and provide the love and attention he'd lost. There was another gorilla, Bims, waiting to welcome Yalta to their enclosure. They needed to be careful though. Bims was a lot bigger than Yalta, and if he didn't want to be friends, he could seriously injure the younger male. They allowed the two gorillas to see each other through a gate first. The two touched each other's faces and tried to play. Bims showed surprising gentleness, and it wasn't long before the experts felt ready to allow the two to be together. Letting them meet couldn't have gone better. The two were instant friends. Both of them also still adored Tanny, and it wasn't too long before she was allowed to play with them once again. They never felt jealous and were incredibly affectionate toward the girl. However, it wouldn't be easy to convince the public that their friendship was safe. Tanny was accustomed to entering the gorilla enclosure whenever she liked, and spending time with the apes was nothing unusual for her. So she didn't even consider altering this habit when a photography team came to the zoo for a visit. The team probably believed the world would love to see the special bond, but that was not how it played out. The photo shoot went off without a hitch, but the photographs caused quite the stir when they were released to the public. Tanny, still just a child, was seen laughing and playing with the massive gorillas as if they were just oversized teddy bears. People were amazed, of course, but many were also horrified. They were worried about her safety. After all, gorillas are wild animals. The zoo faced backlash for allowing the photos to be taken and for letting Tanny interact with the gorillas so freely. Critics said it was irresponsible, but Damien stood his ground. He explained that the animals were part of their family and they cared deeply for them. They understood gorilla behavior better than anyone and would never allow Tanny to be in danger. Damien had always believed that the bond between humans and animals could teach the world about love and respect for wildlife. But as Tanny grew older, things changed. The Aspinall Foundation's mission was to reintroduce rescued gorillas to the wild whenever possible. It was heartbreaking for Tanny to say goodbye to Jalta and Bims, but she knew it was the right thing to do. The gorillas belonged in their natural habitat, where they could live freely as they were meant to. They are also meant to be honest with each other. Years passed, and life moved on. Tanny grew up and started her own career. She always cherished the memories of her time with the gorillas, but a part of her worried. Would Jalta and Bims even remember her? When the opportunity arose for Tanny to visit the sanctuary where the gorillas had been released, she didn't hesitate. Her father arranged the trip, but even he cautioned her against getting her hopes up. They've been in the wild for years now, Tanny. They're not the same as they were back then. You have to be careful, Damien warned. But Tanny's heart wouldn't let her stay away. She had to see them, even if it was from a distance. And that's what brought her to this moment, standing on the riverbank with Jalta towering over her. The massive gorilla had a firm grip on her arm. Her heart raced as she looked into his eyes. For a moment, everything seemed to hang in the balance. Then something incredible happened. Jalta let out a deep, rumbling sound, a vocalization Tanny recognized from years ago. It was a sound he used to make when he was happy to see her. Her fear melted away as Jalta pulled her into a gentle embrace. The onlookers were stunned. The wild gorilla, who had lived away from humans for years, still remembered her. Tanny laughed through her tears as Jalta hugged her, just like he used to when he was younger. Soon Bims appeared as well, and the reunion became even more heartwarming. The two gorillas surrounded Tanny, playfully tugging at her hair and touching her face, as if they couldn't believe she was really there. It was a moment that proved the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. Even after years apart, the love and trust they had built had never faded. Tanny's story became a powerful reminder of the importance of compassion and the incredible connections that can form when we treat animals with kindness and respect. She returned home with a full heart, knowing that no matter how far apart they were, the memories she shared with Jalta and Bims would live on forever, in both their hearts and hers. What do you think about this incredible story? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more amazing stories like this.